I'm Ray Mofield again with the Oral History Program, and today we're visiting in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Herman Cox. It's a beautiful day, as the old announcer used to say in Chicago, but this is in the Moores Camp area, Bethel community perhaps we could also call it, and it's in Marshall County, of course, and Mr. and Mrs. Cox have a lovely home, and we're going to talk to them today. I'll start out by talking to Mr. Herman Cox. Mr. Cox, were you born in Marshall County?
Yes, sir, sure was. Right here in the old home place.
Oh, you're living near where you were born.
Right here, in the house.
In this? Well, isn't that great?
Yeah.
You talk about people say now they're searching for their roots. Well, you don't have to search for yours.
No.
They're
They're
right here.
right here. I was born and raised here and farmed here for a good while.
Now, how many were there in your father's family?
And my father?
Yeah, did you have any brothers and sisters?
Oh, yes. I had one brother and two sisters.
What was your dad's name?
Henry Cox.
And he married whom?
Ellen Lamb. Mary Ellen Lamb.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen Lamb?
Yeah.
Was that the Mary that had a little lamb?
No, might have been.
Had that in school.
Yeah. Well, they lived near Cap Spring. And finally they bought this a farm down here in the bottom. Well, my grandfather bought the farm.
Do you remember any of your grandparents? You might tell us.
No, I can't. My grandparents he was a Baptist preacher, and I don't remember him, but he married the second time. I remember the Aunt Bet. See,
that was his second wife.
Yeah. She was, I can remember her, and they told me later that she tended to me all along, you know. And I'll tell you a little funny story here. She'd put my shirt tail under the bedpost while she cleaned up the house.
That kept you from running around, getting in her way.
Yeah.
Well,
so.
that sounds interesting. Very good. Oh, very good. Now, you're, we may want to call on your wife a little later, but we'll get you sort of up to date and so forth. Now, what was the nearest school? Having been born here and lived here, I guess you went to a one-room school nearby?
High school, went over here, about 2 or 3 miles away, about 2 miles. And I went there and got an 8th grade diploma. So I got another little story to tell you about now. After I got the 8th grade diploma, we had nowhere to go, way to go on to ride a mule. So at Birmingham, I rode a mule to high school for 2 weeks.
How far was it from here to Birmingham?
Oh, I'd say it's around 6 or 7 miles.
That's a good long distance.
Yeah.
Ride a mule.
You ride a mule, and I had a stable down and put him in, and of course I went 2 weeks, then I quit. That's all of it for my high school.
Well, I was going to ask you if you ever got acquainted with any of Mark Clayton or his family.
Oh, yeah.
He's always bragging to me about Birmingham being the greatest place in the world.
I know all the Clayton boys, and now their daddy was my doctor at one time, see.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he come right here to our home, and lots of times.
The doctors then
Dr.
all made
Clayton.
house calls.
Yeah,
Of course, there wasn't a hospital in the county.
No, you he come to our house all the time, and anytime we needed him.
Mhm.
And he first began coming in a buggy, you know. And later on, he bought him a new car, and I can remember sitting right out there under that tree. He'd come to see my father.
That same tree where my car is parked now.
Yeah,
yes.
your car's parked right this side
Oh,
of it.
that's a good shade.
And Mark, that's Mark Clayton, was driving the car for him.
Mhm.
I remember that.
Probably got a dime a day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was mighty cheap back then.
Well, yeah, and the doctors didn't charge nearly as much. Of course,
No.
they weren't out the expense they are today. And
That's
so,
right.
do you recall any of your teachers?
Yeah, Paul Newton and Reuben L. Carnes was my last teacher, I believe.
Mhm.
Paul Newton and Dora Dyke. That was three I remember.
Yes, sir. Well, that's great.
and,
That's great. All right, you were about what time were you in school? I never did ask you if you were 65, but I assume you are.
Well, I'm 80 years old. Yeah. Well, now what was the question?
Oh, we were. I was just getting around, I guess, to finding out your
Oh.
age and so
Oh,
forth,
yeah,
and
well,
about what time it
uh-huh.
was that you were in grade school and so on.
Well, it is up till I was about 16 years old,
Mhm.
16, 17.
All right, now I presume your dad farmed,
Oh, yeah,
so you
yeah.
grew up
Yeah.
knowing farm life.
Yeah, practically taking over the farm. My dad was kindly sick, you know, and couldn't go down in the fields and see about things. He kindly turned him over to me at about 14 years old, see.
Well, tell us a little routine about farm life then. How did, say, a typical day in, now this time of year, December, of course, you wouldn't be plowing or having
No.
crops or anything of that kind, but did you heat the house with wood?
Yeah, uh-huh.
So you had to saw
Yeah.
wood during the winter.
Cut wood in the winter time, and usually had a big crop of tobacco, you know, and probably would be stripping that this time of year too.
Hmm.
Uh,
So you grew dark fired, and
dark fired tobacco, yeah.
and it generally sold January, February, somewhere
Mhm.
along in there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
My
And,
dad used to say it took 13 months to make a dark tobacco crop. You had to burn your
Yeah.
plant bed in January,
Mm.
sell the tobacco in February, and by that time you were getting ready to think about setting over in early April,
yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah,
You burnt a plant bed,
yeah.
and did you put anything on there to keep the insects off and the frost from?
Well, no, I don't remember.
You had to
You had
canvas it, didn't you?
Yeah, canvas to see. I burnt the bed, you know, and then dug it up, sewed it. Then later on, I put the canvas on.
Uh-huh.
For
Did you sow any tomato seed in that?
Oh, yes,
bed
right
too?
along the edge of the plant bed, we'd sow them tomato seeds.
You couldn't go to the nearest grocery and
No.
buy tomato plants
No,
in the
not-
spring.
Not like we do now.
No.
We buy them, see, but we don't raise the tobacco anymore.
No. Now, of course, you plowed mules or horses.
Yeah, we had about 5 head here one time. And
How did you said your father was a preacher?
my grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Uh-huh.
I presume, how'd you get to church?
Oh, we just went in a wagon.
Mhm.
Yeah, up till I bought me. Well, after we married now, I had a new buggy, you know.
Mhm.
I bought this buggy there at Ferguson store, under the National Store now.
Was
You
it
know.
was it a Delker?
Yeah, Delco buggy. Brand new.
Yeah.
I got it before we married, you know, and after that we had a good way to go.
Oh, yeah.
We just went everywhere.
Oh, that's great. There was, what kind of entertainment in this area that you enjoyed when you were growing up?
Or these play parties. We'd go to these play parties, different homes, you know, around in the neighborhood.
And you'd have, they played games of various kinds involving boys and
yeah.
girls.
Yeah, games and I don't know, they'd have music, you know, and ring around roses or whatever you call it. I forgot all them now.
Yeah, they had a call. It was one lady told me, said, my dad wouldn't let me go to a square dance.
Well,
So we went to a play party, which was
that's
pretty close to being a square dance.
yeah, that's right. It's kind of like it, you know, but it's different from a dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You didn't have fiddlers and so on as much
no,
as
it's
yeah.
mostly singing.
You engaged in singing, and
Yeah. Mhm.
probably you had a candy pulling.
Yeah, we've been to that too. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Did you ever go to what they called a pie supper at the school?
Oh
maybe?
yeah, we went to the pie suppers, you know, and they'd bid 'em off, you know. And the highest bidder, you know, like
You got the pie and the girl.
like my wife would bake one, you know.
How did you meet her?
How did I meet her? She moved here from Maple Springs. She lived in Maple Springs. Her name is Sykes. And she moved over here on what they called the Sparks place.
Yes, sir.
So I met her over there. And we got to going together, and
When you first saw her, did you think she was beautiful?
oh
Girl?
my goodness, yes, I reckon so.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, first sight.
Oh, that's great. You hadn't gone to school with her then earlier.
No, but later, and then after she moved down here, she started to the same school I went, high school.
Well, let's ask her where she went to school before you moved here.
Maple Springs.
Oh, Maple
Then,
Springs.
yeah, I finished up over at Sty, but he'd already gotten out of school when I had come to this country down in this part.
Maple Springs seemed a good long ways off in those days, didn't it?
Yes, it did, quite a ways.
And do you remember any of your teachers at Maple Springs?
Well, no, I can't remember their names. It's been so long, but I could. There's some over here at Benton that used to teach our school. I think, some wolf girl
Mm-hmm.
up there, at Maple Springs, taught for several years.
Oh, yes, Irene Wolf.
Yeah. I used to go to her, and I went to Ollie Colley. Did you ever hear of him?
I've heard of that, yes.
Yeah, I went to him. He taught several years. That's about the only two I can remember.
All right, well, let's get back to early living in those days. Now, you raised tobacco, and I presume you had a little corn.
Yeah, we raised about 20 acres of corn.
And the mules ate all of that.
Yeah, fed it to the mules.
You always had a cow, probably.
Oh yeah, we had 2 or 3 cows.
Did your mother ever make you churn?
Oh yeah, I've seen her churn. I don't know if I done any of it. But she sure did put out that churn and butter, you know, buttermilk.
Good hot biscuits of a morning.
Yeah.
You did you kill any hogs?
Oh yeah. Every fall we'd kill 4 or 5 here and put them in the...
Would you tell us, for some of the younger people probably don't know the routine of a hog killing, about a good frosty morning like this would have been a nice day?
Oh,
wouldn't it?
fine day, yeah.
You
It
didn't
sure
have
was.
refrigeration, so you waited till the weather was right.
That's right.
You didn't want it too cold, didn't want the meat to freeze.
No, you wanted to kill in November or December is the best time.
Mhm.
So we'd kill sometimes 4 or 5, you know, but the whole neighborhood would come in. We'd kill here, see, and then we'd go somewhere else and kill at the other place, on up above here, or down below.
Did these neighbors share meat back and forth with one another?
Oh, well, we was killing all the time, you know, about all the same time, you know, and putting our meat up.
It seemed like I remember that the first one killed they'd give you a liver. or
Well,
something
oh
or
yeah,
other.
yeah, they would do that, yes.
And then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, another one killed, and by that
Yeah.
time you were out of fresh meat, so you traded off.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Now, did you shoot these pigs or hit them in the head with a sledgehammer, or?
Well, we'd shoot 'em most of the time.
And you had
If
to
one got away, and you could get him up, and might have to knock him in the head, you know, and stick him.
Now,
But,
how did you get the hair off of those animals?
Well, we got a tree right up yonder that's still standing. We had our gambling pole on that. And we had a barrel lit down there, and you'd heat your water and pour that hot water in that barrel, and you'd stick that hog in there and roll him over and over and pull him out, turn him over, and
Hair then
and-
would slip right off.
you had a platform out here, you pull him out there, and then you could that hair would all come off.
Take a butcher knife and sort of run
Yes,
it along the edge and
scrape him off.
scrape it
Oh,
off.
yeah.
Then you'd hang that up, as you say. Somebody would
Yeah.
cut the,
Take the entrails out.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I've done them anyway.
And then you had to cut out those pieces, and with the fat, you'd cook out the lard, they called
Yeah,
it.
yeah, back then we used to do that, yeah.
Did you ever go to town and brag about how much lard your hog made?
Well, oh, not too much, I don't reckon, I don't know.
Seemed like I used to go to Hardin, and all the men would be saying, well, how much lard did you make?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess they did, yeah.
Somebody would say, oh, well, I had 2 stands.
Yeah,
And another one would say, well, that's nothing, I had 3.
3 or 4, yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of work at those rascals.
Oh, yes.
What did the
I-
women do while you were?
Well, they'd fix dinner, you know, if we had a whole bunch down here, you know, helping. They'd cook dinner. And,
The cook stove didn't feel so bad in December,
no.
but in August, what kind of fuel did you have?
Oh, we just had a wood burning cook stove back then in our young days.
And that was something terrible in August, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, well you had to get your stove wood up in winter time. While at school we had stacks of it out here,
Mhm.
and it's not like it is now. You turn the switch or push your button.
You talk the better homeowners, or at least they called themselves better, I suppose, would would get up enough stove wood to run until the next year.
Yeah, that's right.
And if there happened to be a man in the neighborhood who didn't get up stove wood and his wife had to chop it before they cook each meal, then we could sit around and talk about that scamp.
Yeah, yeah,
Too lazy to cut stove wood.
that's right.
Seemed like every neighborhood had one.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
would be that way. All right, then you had to, well, let's see, you had to grind the sausage, didn't you?
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
you had a
well,
little hand
Yeah, we
mill.
still got the little hand mill that we ground it on. It's around here somewhere, I don't know
You get a
where.
little bit of work out of that
Oh, you can work yourself to death on that thing.
after a few hours.
Yeah.
And as I said, cooking out the lard, grinding the sausage.
Oh, yeah.
And now my mother used to would can some of the things like tenderloin and maybe sausage. And I can remember those old ball mason jars,
Oh, yeah.
and she would seal them up. They had a zinc lid on them, and turn them upside down so the lard would
Seal them?
seal it,
Yeah.
just in case there was a leak. And then, of course, when that cooled, why,
Yeah.
you could set them up right side up again. Those bring back some wonderful memories.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about how did you keep warm in the winter? You said you burned wood. Did you have a fireplace?
Yeah, we had a fireplace right here where these double windows is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did that heat
Yeah.
the whole house real well?
Well, it done very pretty well, you know. Of course, back then we was used to, well, we couldn't take it now, I don't guess, since we've had the other kind of heat too much. And
Be like a town dog. You'd be
yeah,
spoiled. wouldn't you?
yeah, it was spoiled. But that, we could do very well with this fireplace, you know. And finally, then we got a stove, and that there was a lot better, you know.
Mhm.
I
Did
toured the
you
old.
ever sleep on a straw bed?
Oh my goodness, yes, yeah.
Put fresh straw in that,
Yeah.
gentlemen, in the summer, but
When there was a thrash wheat around here, you'd have to go fill up your straw beds.
and when it got real cold, you may have had a feather bed you put on top of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, you could sink down in
Oh,
those
yeah.
feathers
Yeah.
and pull up about half a
Yeah.
dozen quilts.
You keep warm that way.
Yeah. All right, now, do you have anything else that you'd like to say that
Well,
I
I'd
haven't
like
asked
to.
you?
I'd like to tell you about all my children.
Well, I
Yeah.
surely hope you will. You were
Yeah.
married, but you said your wife was a Sykes.
That's right.
And about what year did you marry?
19. Well, we've been married 62 years.
24 then.
Yeah, 1924.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, tell us then about your children or grandchildren or
Well,
anything you like.
Well, I'd like to tell about my. We had got 6 children. Herbert Cox, he lives in Tampa, Florida. He's the oldest. We had 1 boy and 5 girls. And Edna and Glenn and Velma lives in the Benton area, and also Wanda and Patricia.
You don't know Jerome Cox, do you?
Jerome?
He
Oh, yeah, over at Palmy.
He married John Sled's daughter.
That's it. Yeah, that's him. We call him Hankum. Okay.
Well,
You're thinking about that's all his boy he's talking about.
Who, now did you say?
I think his name is Jerome. He's a great singer.
Oh, yeah, you're Ollie Cox's boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, don't let me get you off trail too much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, we've got 15 grandchildren and 15 great-grandchildren. And my first job, after we was married, I got a job driving a pair of mules, building a road going into Benton, the S-curve.
Oh, that was the old 95,
The
Paducah
old-
to Murray.
The old road that run around there. I worked there for a while.
That must have been 1929.
Well, it's way back there. We hadn't been married too long. They built that out with mules and scrapers, you know. And
Didn't have big Caterpillars.
oh no, they didn't have no machinery there that I saw. And I drove those mules to a slip scraper up and build that road. But I didn't work too long there because I had to get back to the farm and finish up my crop, you know.
You
and
made some extra money,
a
though.
little extra money. That's what I went out there to work for.
Now, one of your daughters is here today. Now,
Yeah.
she's married in English.
Yeah, Mike English.
We got one lives right up here at married Ray Davis.
There's one right across the road here that married
Glenda.
Ray Davis. Married Ray Davis.
Well, now, this one that's sitting here now is one of the most beautiful women in the world. Now, did she take that after you or your wife?
Oh, I must have taken it after her, you know. She couldn't have taken it after me, I don't think.
Well, you know, you sort of favor one another.
Yeah?
Did you ever hear that men like to marry images of themselves?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
maybe you did. See?
maybe I did.
Yeah. Well, that certainly is a wonderful story, and you have it's nice that you're still living together.
Yeah. And, well, I called their names. Yeah, I called all their names. Edna, Glenda, Patricia, Wanda, Velma. That's Wanda in there.
Now, does Wanda have any children?
One boy. Yeah, he's a fine boy, too. He comes down here and helps me a lot.
Yeah.
And Michael English.
Now, you said you had a new buggy. When did you get your first car?
Well, let's see. I bought a new one. Of course, I had a Model A. Some fella had brought it in to Detroit and drove it down here. Oh, it was just like new.
What did you have? Do you remember what you had to give for that?
$85. Yeah. And he wanted $100 for it. Yeah. I said, no, I'll give you $85 for it if you want to sell it. I like the car, and it's pretty, and it's good. He said, no, and then he went on back. It wasn't nothing but old dirt roads up and down through here. He went back to Benton. So directly I heard him coming back down the road, and I said, oh, I believe I bought me a car. Sure enough, he said, well, I'm going to let you have this car for $85. I got to go back to Detroit next morning.
Well, I certainly thank you, Mr. Cox. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Our time is about gone. The 30
Yeah.
minutes has just breezed away. Do you have a final word?
You didn't tell him we'd been living together for 62 years.
Yeah, I told him we'd been married
Yeah.
62 years.
62 years. That
Yeah.
is wonderful.
We've already celebrated 3 of our anniversaries.
And thanks again for letting me come to visit Mr. and Mrs. Herman Cox in the Moores Camp area here in Marshall County. I'm Ray Mofield, and this is our oral history for today. Back to our studios in Benton.